All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's AdvocateHub class. This week, we have a special class. We're going to talk about using webhooks. Now, webhooks are a very mysterious part of AdvocateHub that not a lot of people know about. So today, we're going to give just a basic introduction to what webhooks can do for you in AdvocateHub. And specifically, we're going to be working with this web platform called Zapier. And we'll learn a little bit more about that later. So let's continue on. Who am I? I am Don, one of your support magicians, and I'm going to be teaching your class today. Okay, so to begin, is this class for you? Are you adventurous? Do you want to extend the power of your AdvocateHub? Are you using some kind of marketing software, some CRM that Intuitive doesn't integrate with natively? Then if that's the case, then this would be a great class for you because I'm going to teach you how we can integrate AdvocateHub with many hundreds of applications through the platform called Zapier. And the objective of today's class is just to give a basic overview of what webhooks are, how you can use them in your AdvocateHub, and just a basic overview. But the possibilities are literally endless. So let's give a little bit of an overview of what we're going to talk about. This class will be split up into 3 parts. The first part will be just a little introduction, and part 2 and 3 are completely practical. So I'm going to go through live creating a couple of different webhooks. The first one is going to be making a webhook which will send an invitation automatically when someone refers their friend or colleague to your AdvocateHub. And part 3 will be to send an automatic email to a prospect after they are referred to your company by an advocate. But we'll talk more about that later. To begin, the first part, the goal is to understand what kind of activities can trigger a webhook in AdvocateHub, and further to understand what you can do with them. And even more basically, to understand what is a webhook, and a webhook in the context of AdvocateHub. So let's begin with that part. So what is a webhook? Here is the developer definition. I'm not even going to read this because it's a little confusing, and we don't really need to know technically what is a webhook. We just need to know what a webhook can do for us. So simplified, what do we need to know about webhooks? Well, we need to know that when an advocate does something in your hub, we can trigger an action by sending information to a third-party platform. And in that case, it is Zapier. So just to sum up, when an advocate does something in your hub, it can trigger a webhook which sends information about what they did to Zapier. And from Zapier, it can be sent to many hundreds of different applications. So we're going to go over a few of those applications later. But first, we're going to start by letting you know what do you need to even get started making use of webhooks in AdvocateHub. First, it doesn't cost you any money to get started. You just need a free Zapier account. There are premium Zapier accounts that allow you to do more things, but I think just to begin, so you can understand the value of integrating with Zapier, you can have a free account. And a free account allows you to have 5 zaps. And we'll talk about what zaps are later. And in the free account, you can also get 300 free tasks to begin with. You can get a bunch of other tasks by doing things like sharing on Twitter and that kind of thing. But a task is basically one action. So one, for the example we're talking about today, one referral equals 1 task. So you get 300 of those. And you probably won't be getting 300 referrals in 1 month. So this is 300 free tasks per month. If you do get 300 referrals in 1 month, then that's good, and you can probably afford the premium account. So you need, just basically need a free Zapier account. You need a goal. What do you want to do? And then you need a willingness to experiment. It can get a little bit hairy from time to time creating webhooks. So you need to be willing to experiment and make mistakes. But hopefully today's introduction will help you to get a basic idea of what you need to do to get started. So in this part, I'm just going to go right into making a couple of webhooks for you. The first one, we want the goal to be when an advocate completes a refer a colleague challenge, like is in the template library, an invitation email will be sent. So this is not a feature of AdvocateHub. Many people want this to happen. So until it becomes an actual feature in AdvocateHub, we will create this webhook. So what do you need? First you need a Zapier account, and then you need one of the email applications that Zapier works with. So we're going to take information from AdvocateHub, so the information about who was referred, and send that out as an email through Gmail, through Outlook, or other email sending services such as Mandrill, SendGrid, MailChimp. So your company probably uses one of these email services. And if you do, there are actually many more, which I'll go through after, but if your company uses one of these email sending services, you can easily have an automated invitation be sent out. And finally, of course, you need to refer a colleague challenge in your hub. And I'm just going to tell you what the next part will be first, so that once I get into the application, we don't need to come back into the presentation. So after we create that one webhook, we're going to go and create the second webhook, which is when an advocate refers a prospect in a referral challenge, we want to send this prospect an information email about your company. So this is a stepping stone to sending the lead info anywhere. I'm going to show you how to send the lead info to an email, but in theory you can have that lead information be sent to any other kind of CRM or marketing automation system. Okay, so let's begin by going back. Let's talk about creating automated invitation. So I'm going to share my desktop with everybody here. We're going to start by, I'll show you where in AdvocateHub you can actually find the webhook section. Maybe you didn't even know it was here. It's kind of buried in the settings. So first we need to go to our settings page. We can find it under integrations, and then here is webhooks. So I have a bunch of webhooks in here, but if you have never done this before, this will be an empty page. So to get started, all we need to do is click add a webhook. We're going to leave this open for a while because we still have a few things to do. But I'm just going to begin by calling this webhook, let's say, automated invitation. I can't spell invitation email. Okay. So this is going to be automated invitation email webhook. And when we can worry about this webhook provider in a few minutes, don't change this format, form post. This will always be the same. Now, importantly here, to do this type of webhook, we need to choose the right kind of event. So we want to run this webhook, trigger this webhook when, what happens. So as you can see, there are many different options. All of these are activities which can trigger webhooks. So like I said, the possibilities are endless. But in our situation, we want to look for questions answered. So this one. So questions answered. So why do we need questions answered? Because in the challenge, which I'll show you, we're creating this challenge. You will know this well because this challenge is actually in the challenge template library. It is, do you know others who would like to join your AdvocateHub? The Donbury House is my AdvocateHub, so this challenge is the one we will use. And why do we say questions answered? Because these are the questions, first name, last name, and email address. So when an advocate answers these questions, we're going to trigger a webhook. And one thing you may notice is that I separated first name and last name. And we'll talk about that later, why I did that. But just know you should have 3 questions at minimum. The first name of the person who they want to invite, the last name, and then the email address of the person. Okay, So now we have that challenge. And also, in order to invite people into the hub, we need to have the invite URL. So I created a group called Advocate Invitees. These advocates, once they're invited, they will be put into this special group. So maybe you want to treat them differently. But we'll need this invite URL later when we create our invitation. So you need to have a group. You need to have a challenge, which is invite your colleague. And then we need to start with this webhook. So now let's head over to Zapier. So here is what the Zapier dashboard looks like. And where we want to go is to click on Make a New Zap. A new Zap. So a Zap is just an action, some process that we are building, a Zap. So they're called Zaps. So to sum it up, when this happens, do this. So it's like if this, then that. So if someone refers a colleague, do this, send an email. Okay, so let's get started. What do you need to choose? You need to choose Webhook. So the trigger app. So what triggers the invitation? A webhook triggers the invitation. And the webhook comes from AdvocateHub. And the trigger will be catching a hook. We don't need to go into technical details. All you need to know is that we need to catch a webhook. AdvocateHub will send the webhook to Zapier. Then what happens next? We choose an action app. So if you were sending this to MailChimp, you would choose MailChimp. If you're sending it to Mandrill, you would choose Mandrill or SendGrid or something. But for the point of this demonstration, I will just choose Gmail because at Intuitive here, we use Gmail for our emails. So once we catch the hook, the information about the invitee, what do we want to do in Gmail? We want to either create a draft, which will create a draft and put it in your draft inbox so you can review it later to send. Or if you just want it to send automatically, you can choose send email. But I'm going to decide I want to review all the emails first before they send out. Okay, so here we go. This is how we get started. We will continue. Now, we are given this webhook URL. So we copy this webhook URL, and if you remember, back in the AdvocateHub webhook settings, we had this webhook provider URL. And it even gives the hint. This is a Zapier URL. So let's paste that webhook URL into here. So now we have a name, we have a URL, format is form post, and we chose questions answered. And we can save that. So there, we're done on the AdvocateHub settings side. So let's go back into Zapier. That's in our AdvocateHub. And let's continue. So I'm going to send these emails from my account. And you can configure, if you don't have your Gmail account configured, it will first ask you to configure a Gmail account. And my account looks to be working. So we'll continue. Now here, where it can get a little bit tricky, we don't want to catch every question answered from AdvocateHub. If we have no filter, it's going to send information from every question. So we can ignore the key part. We need to look at this one. Add filters based on the webhook field. So this will allow us to filter and send information only from that actual invite a colleague challenge. So let's add a custom filter. And you'll notice something scary happens when I click here. Oh, we couldn't get any samples from the webhook. So Zapier doesn't know that my webhook exists yet. So here is what we do in this situation. You don't have to read this. You can just click OK, ignore what it says, and then click OK twice, and then it's going to say looking for changes. So now we're going to go into our AdvocateHub, which I have open here. And we're going to send a test. So by the way, this is that referral challenge. the Refer a Colleague challenge. And we're going to send a test here so that Zapier can pick up our webhook. And I would recommend making your test very obvious. So this will be first name, last name, and you'll see why it should be obvious later. email@email.com. Okay. So this is just a test. It's not actually going to send an invitation yet, but we just want to knock on Zapier's door and say, hey, we're live. Let's give it a second, and then Zapier will notice that we're here. So they found our changes. They found our webhook. So we're all done there. Now, once Zapier is able to connect to AdvocateHub, it will give us a list of all the types of fields based on that question that you can send in your email. So here, that's where I said you should probably make your test case obvious. So we're going to filter based on the source name in this case. So the source name is the name, the headline of that challenge. So do you know others who like the Dunbury House too? And this is that merge field here, global community. So adding this filter means source name exactly matches that name, the headline. So let's go back to that challenge. I'll just copy and paste it directly from that challenge so that there's no mistake. Adding this headline means that only submissions from that challenge will be sent through. Okay, let's continue. Now, let's begin composing the email. So I'm going to have, this is the from email. So I'm going to have all emails sent out come from me. But maybe you would have it come from your VP of marketing or your CEO or something like that. So the from is going to be from me, and to is going to be to the referred colleague, the person who your advocate wants to invite. So how do we get that? Here, we can get that information from the challenge. So let's click on Insert Fields. This is going to pull all the fields from AdvocateHub. Okay, so the email. So this is very confusing, right? So that's why I would say, look for the one that you submitted, which is email@email.com. That's what we know. This parameters, responses 329, that is the email address. And normally we wouldn't know that unless we made a really obvious example like this, email@email.com. So when someone actually puts in a real email address, this will send your email to that actual email address. We can choose to CC someone, or we can choose to BCC someone. So I'm going to choose to, every time someone invites someone from my hub to my hub, I'm going to send an email to my boss, Chad, who is the VP of Customer Success, fill up his inbox. And here, I'm not going to be creative here. I'll let your marketing team be creative or you be creative, but let's make the subject of the email personalized. So here we can start like this. So we say, hey, and we want to say hey to the name of the person, right? So here, we have all that information coming over from AdvocateHub. So that's why I say you should make a separate field for first name. So hey, Don, we heard actually no, let's say, let's add the name of the person who's inviting to the advocate. And I will tell you the advocate information is contact. So contact, first name. So why not do like this? Hey, name, advocate wants you to join your AdvocateHub, the Dunbury House. So this will pull parameters first name, which is the name of the invited person, and contact first name, which is the name of the advocate. This will make a personalized subject. And then from here, you can write the body of your email to say whatever you want. So, hi, one more time, parameters, first name, right, the first name, your colleague, and we can even put in parameters, or the contact. Let's do the full name of the contact. The full name of the contact would be the full name of the advocate. So, your colleague, Don Curry, from, and why not make it even more personalized by choosing the company of the advocate. So in that case, we would look for contact company. So your colleague Don from Influitive wants you to join the Dunbury House. And you can carry on with whatever kind of copy you want. And here is where we would go back to the hub, copy that invite URL, and put it here. Okay. So there we go. You can be more creative if you want, of course, but that's basically how you do it. Now we're going to test this. Does it work? This test. Everything's working. Success. So continue. So we're going to call this ZAP. We're going to call it Automated Advocate Invite. And there we go. So now that it's on, it's going to show up in my list, Automated Advocate Invite. So now, if this works correctly, I'm going to invite my friend, my partner, Adam, on the support team. Hi, Adam at Influitive.com. Send them an invite. So when I do this, we will have this Zap will automatically create a draft in my Gmail draft folder. Oh, and there you go. You can see my test here. It was very quick. If I had not created it, if I had chosen to make it automatically send an email, this would have sent automatically. But I chose to make it a draft first. So you can see it's sending to Adam, Adam at Influitive. It's going to CC Chad and send him an invite link. So that's a very quick and easy way you can create an automated invite. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask me later. But first, we're going to continue on to the next one. So we're running out of time. So let's go to the referrals issue. So we want to say, hey, when someone refers a customer from this page, from any referral challenge, we want to send the prospect the information to anywhere. But in this case, we're going to do it to an email. But in theory, like I said, you can send it to any CRM or marketing automation system. So in the same way, let's add a webhook. The webhook name can be, why not call it again, Automated Prospect Email. Remember, we're going to get the webhook provider URL a little bit later. And it's a little bit different. We want to go down to prospect referred. There we go. Prospect referred. So when a prospect is referred, we're going to send that information into Zapier about that prospect. So we can't save this yet. Let's go back to Zapier. We can quickly create another news app in just the same way. If you remember, what do? We choose Webhook. We catch the hook. So when the hook comes in, what happens next? So like I said, you could actually send this to HubSpot. Since we don't have a HubSpot integration, you could send it to Pipedrive, which is another kind of CRM system. You can send it to any other kind of system that we don't have native integrations with. But for the point of this, I'm just going to go ahead and do a Gmail again, just because it will demonstrate what we can get. So once more, this is that webhook URL. Let's go back to the hub. We put the webhook provider URL here, and we save. So there we go. as far as configuration goes, that's all we need to do for that webhook in the hub. So we'll continue on again. My Gmail account, we talked about that. Next, we don't need to filter this time because in theory, you could filter. You could have, if a prospect is referred from your referral tab or from a challenge or what other, if you have many referral challenges, you could have different actions happen based on which referral challenge you choose. So that's when you could add a custom filter and then choose, again, the source is the challenge equals that one particular challenge. So we talked about that before, so this is going to continue. In this case, we're going to have all referrals will get an email. So now, again, this is the same thing. We're going to compose our email. And let's just add it from me again, don@intuitive.com. So 2. Now we need to insert the email address of the prospect. How do we do that? Oh, this scary screen came up again. I can't communicate. So if you remember, we just have to go back and send a test sample through. So we'll click OK, OK, and let's go back to the hub and send a test. So I will say prospect name, email@email.com again, and then company. So if you remember, this makes it easier later for us to figure out what fields we're dealing with. All right, so let's go back here and hope for Zapier to recognize our changes. Might take a minute. Prospect preferred. Okay, there we go. All right. So it's a scary few seconds waiting for that to happen. And all done. So now, let's go. Zapier is not working. Sorry about this. Let's try that again. Okay, one more time. Prospect name, email@email.com, and company is company. Okay, let's do it this time. Oh, I did that one. Okay, email 2. Okay, no problem. Let's just call it prospect don@email.com. That can't be taken. Oh, the name has already been taken. Okay, prospect name. So first, last. Okay, now it's going to work. Okay, prospect don@influences.com. Okay, something is not working correctly, obviously. Oh, it's worked this time. That's good to know. Okay, sorry about that. That's the internet for you. Okay, 2 email address will be the email of the prospect. So, if you remember, we chose, there, it worked that time. So parameters was email@email.com. So that means that is the prospect email. And again, we can do CC or BCC as we want, but if you remember, prospect email, parameters, email, parameters name is the lead name, the last name of the lead, parameters title if you had that in there, but for now we're just going to do parameters email, 2 email address. Okay, so let's quickly go through this one more time. So again, if you remember, hey, we're going to do parameters first name is the name of, so if parameters first name, there you go. That's the prospect first name. Parameters first name and parameters last name is the first and last name of the prospect. Parameters full name is the full name of the prospect. So hey, Don, and then we're going to use the name of the advocate. Here. This here. Okay. So the contact. So we can use the full name of the contact, the first name of the contact, but maybe we can use the full name in this case. So, hey, Don wants you to know about Inclusive. Okay. So there we go, and then we can make the body in the same method as before. So hi, if you remember, parameters first name. There we go. So parameters first name is the first name of the prospect. We heard from, and I won't go through this time because it takes a while, but we can add in the contact, the advocate full name, the contact advocate company, and more information. And just to show you a few other fields that can pull through in here. So again, we have the parameters first name, which is the prospect name, last name, and if you notice, you can see parameters, Salesforce, campaign ID. So I have a campaign ID associated with my referral challenge, and let's say I wanted to send that campaign ID to my marketing automation system or some other system, then I would have that. I could add that information in this webhook as well. But for our situation, all we need to do is just have this one, the first name, and then again, I'll just put in here. Don wants you to know about Inclusive. Okay. And again, your marketing team is more creative than me, so you can put whatever kind of text in here you want. And remember that you can include the company and other information, the title of the prospect or the title of the advocate if you have that information. And there we go. We're done. Let's test that. Test with the sample. And there we go. Let's name it Automated Prospect Email. Okay, so that's how you can make your automated email to prospects. Now, I mentioned a lot of times that you can send information to many CRMs if you're not using Sales. We integrate with Salesforce at Intuitive, and we integrate with Marketo for an email automation system. But you can see that Zapier actually works with many, many smaller or different marketing automation systems that AdvocateHub doesn't integrate with. So as you noticed, we can send the prospect email, company, and you can also, any custom fields in your referral challenge will also be able to be sent over through Zapier, through this webhook, into whatever CRM you're using. So you don't have to just use the fields I use. You can add as many fields as you'd like. You just have to choose them when you're setting up your webhook and have that information sent to your CRM or, again, to some marketing software. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of applications that you can sync with. All right, that was a lot of information all at once. So you maybe have a lot of questions, and we'll get to the questions right now. So we do a chat question, but if you have any phone questions, if you want to call in, our operator Tia will help you to phone in those questions if you have any. So Tia, could you help us out?
Certainly. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to register a question through the phone line, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You'll hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. If you'd like to withdraw your registration, you can press the 1 followed by the 3.
All right. So I'll answer. Bo asked me if we have these steps documented in the support hub. We don't actually, but I'm going to, I wanted to show you live because there's a lot of little things that are very specific to each use case, but I will, for sure, I will document the steps in making just this automated invite email at least, and the referral email as well. So Susan also asked, how do you add additional pieces of info like campaign ID? So in the email, okay. So I don't think you would add the campaign ID in the email. The idea would be if you're sending this lead and prospect information to another CRM or to a marketing automation system, you will want to send the Salesforce campaign ID. So you could add it right into an email for sure, and you would just do that by inserting the field, which is, it says parameters SFTC campaign ID. You can just insert that right into the body of the text. But I think in general, I'm not sure why you want to send the campaign ID in the email. Okay. Are there any phone questions, or maybe Susan, if you want to clarify for us?
And there are no phone questions at this time.
No phone questions? Okay. So for sure, Susan, you can send the email to us at support, and then maybe we can go through your situation. Okay. So again, there was a lot to go through all at once, but I'm going to cut up this video and have it in easier to understand chunks, and I'll also include this information in the knowledge base as well. So as always, if you have any questions about this, I would say reach out to us at support@influitive.com, and you can also check out the knowledge base or ask questions. Want to head into the forums, ask questions about webhooks, or discuss different ideas like how you can use webhooks in your hub. It would be good to have a good conversation about this among different AdvocateHub administrators. So that looks like it's all for today. So everybody, thank you for bearing with me. I know that was a lot of information, and I hope everybody has a great week and a happy Halloween. So see you in 2 weeks.